In this video, we are going to look at LCD equations, so least common denominator equations. So we need to solve for x, but the first thing we need to do is find the least common denominator. So in this case, we have 3, 5, and 15. We need to list all the multiples of 3, 5, and 15, and what is the smallest one that they have in common. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 5, 10, 15, 15, 30. So which one is the smallest that they have in common? They all three have 15. So our least common denominator for this problem is 15. We are going to take the least common denominator and multiply it with the entire equation. But the equation is fraction, so we need to make 15 a fraction. So you're going to put 15 over 1. Now distribute it into each piece of our equation. So 15 times x plus 2. Now multiply the bottom. 1 times 3, 3. Let's move on to the next equation, but bring down your subtraction sign. 15 times x minus 1, multiply the bottom. 1 times 5 is 5. Bring down your equal and multiply the last part of our equation. 15 times 1 is 15. Multiply the bottom. 1 times 15 is 15. After I multiply each piece of my equation with the LCD, I go through and take each fraction and simplify it. So I'm first going to look at the left fraction. Now I cannot touch what's inside of the parentheses, but on the outside of the parentheses, that is a fraction. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And I'm going to bring down my x plus 2. Now let's look at the next fraction. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So bring down your x minus 1. And then 15 divided by 15 is 1. So now I'm going to distribute the 5. So 5x plus 10. Now distribute your negative 3 because the sign in front of the number goes with it. So negative 3x plus 3. Combine like terms on the left side. So when you're combining like terms, you keep the signs the same. So 5x minus 3 is 2x. Then 10 plus 3 is 13. I need to get x by itself. So subtract 13 on each side. And then last, divide by 2. So x equals negative 6. So let's look at another equation. This time we have binomials for our denominator, but it's our same first step. We need to figure out what is the least common denominator for this equation. And so I'm going to make 3 a fraction by putting it 3 over 1. So let's look at our bottom. What is the least common denominator? Well, they both have x minus 1. So I'm going to take x minus 1 and put it over 1 and multiply our entire equation with x minus 1. So distribute it in. 5x times x minus 1. Now multiply the bottoms. X minus 1. Bring down your equal. Now multiply the next equation. 5 times x minus 1. Now multiply your bottom. X minus 1. And now multiply x minus 1 with your last part of the equation. 3 times x minus 1. And then 1 times 1 is 1. So from here, I go through and I simplify each fraction. First fraction on the left side, they both have x minus 1. So I can simplify that and cross them out. So all that's left at the top is 5x. My next fraction, they both have x minus 1, so they cross out, and all that's left is 5. And then I can drop the 1, and I have 3 times x minus 1. So the next step, distribute your 3. 3x minus 3. Combine like terms on the right side. Is 2. We need to get the x's on one side, so I'm crossing the equal. So subtract your 3x. And then we still need to get x by itself, so divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, so x equals 1.